Hey, what's up? How you doing? Welcome back to another episode here on the Matt LaStalia Show. It's good to see you guys back here again. So, interestingly, there might be two groups of you guys out there right now, existing in kind of a different sphere. And so, and that exists between those who are primarily consuming this through YouTube and those that are primarily consuming this through any sort of a podcast audio only format, right? So first and foremost, there has been a large upsurge in listenership specifically through YouTube, and that is and I apologize to the podcast audio only portion of the audience, but there has been a new development where essentially I am producing videos every week that are going out strictly on video and not to podcast. So if you want to see those and those videos that have come out over the last 2 weeks are they do include one kind of the catch up and the story and the reason a little bit behind what the delay has been between the productions. And if you were there and you were listening when I was in Germany with my wife, then you'll kind of have an idea anyway, but there were a lot of moving pieces, but I talk about that in one of those videos. So if you are listening, or if you're even new to the show and you haven't listened, you can go back and check those out, the last 2 episodes, and you'll see them. They'll be they won't be like this. The setting will be a little bit different. It's still me, and I'm just outside right over there in my backyard, and to the lot we have like a path, we have a bunch of land. It's really cool, but you get to see it. So if you want to see what the hell I'm talking about, go check it out. It's on YouTube, and I'll put the link for the video for YouTube in the podcast description for everyone, so that way it's easier. But if you're here, it's the Matt LaStalia Show. You'll be able to find it on YouTube as well. So that's kind of that. I think that'll wrap up the kind of housekeeping stuff. But I guess the last little segue from those videos, especially for those that haven't seen them yet, like I said, is that earlier this week, it ended up being Tuesday. My goal is to do those videos on the first day of the week, but life happens and you adjust and you do what you can. And instead of not, and that was part of the lesson in that video was, my goal was to do it on Monday, but even though I couldn't do it on Monday, didn't mean that I was just gonna not do it and call it a failure and say, oh well, we'll just it's okay, we'll get it next week. Like, no, I'll just do it on Tuesday. There's nothing tying me other than to Monday, other than my own thought process, my intent to kick the week off with you guys, to start it right, with just a little bit of tidbit for me, and really a goal to make it more interactive, right? I want to create a better platform, better engagement, where we can communicate while I'm doing it. And so the best way to do that is through live videos, I believe. And so in order to do that on YouTube, we actually need 1,000 subscribers. So if there are any of you that are listening on the podcast, please do check us out on YouTube, because that increased subscribership will help us get to the point where when I'm doing those videos on Monday or the beginning of the week, towards the beginning of the week, like I said, this week was Tuesday, we can make it so we can actually engage, and I can do it live, and you guys can be there and we can communicate. And that will actually also create the opportunity for more events like that. Now, I'm not waiting to go live until that is the case. That is just a mobile live aspect. So I am intending on shifting this to a live format. And so that way you guys know every week, this is the day that we do it. We're live. You want to come here? We'll do a little chit chat perhaps on the front end, and then we'll go into the show. It's just some ideas I've been thinking of, some models that I've seen through some other shows that have been interesting to me. But in the show earlier on this Tuesday, I talked about setting up your environment for success. To create the environment that is more conducive to you making the most out of each day. And the environment that I focused on was actually the mental environment, was all the stuff inside of your head, which, interestingly enough, apparently something about that 16-ish minute video made YouTube flag an ad for it as being drugs related, and not like illegal drugs. Like, they were trying to get me to certify pharmaceuticals, and we never talk about that. We never talk about any sort of drugs or anything. So I don't understand what happened. But that's YouTube. And so that, for that reason, I'm actually looking at several other video distribution channels and to see if there's anything that's a little bit more friendly when it comes to getting the word out there, because I really do want to spread this word and the episodes and have the content out to as many people as possible. I really do want to expand the audience, so that way we can really see change in the world occur through individuals, but on a large scale, right? I know a lot of that is like kind of spread out, so a wide dichotomy there between large systematic change and individual growth, but I think that that's how that's done. We change the world one person at a time, and I think that focusing on what we can do with the tools that we already have, and how we can make fundamental changes in our lives, that is the most profound and the most significant change to the world, the most positive change to the world will occur from those events, And then you make a community, right? Then that those like-minded people come together, you get to make a community, and of those who choose to live in a way where they focus on betterment and improvement, and because when you do that, then even the work that you do changes, even the way that you work changes. Like, you look at the type of value that you're providing in a different manner, and so I think that's very powerful. So there you go. There's a little mission statement for you there. It's kind of the reason why we're doing this. But like I was saying, so we were talking about, or I was talking about on Tuesday, the changing your mental environment, right? And so now I wanted to kind of dovetail off of that, right? I wanted to take that and give some insights in how we can change our physical environment, so that it's more conducive to producing the results that we want to see towards the goals that we have now. So, I mean, I think the easiest way to look at this is, we want to create an environment that is built for us to have success. So if you think about how do we make this most user-friendly and understanding. So think about a locker room, or let's just call it the locker room training area for like a professional sports team, like a football team. When they get done with a game, what's back there for them, right? And what's on the sidelines, and all of that in preparation for the game. Now, each person's going to have like their own locker, so they're going to be able to add in their own little curated pieces of this. And that's really where I'm going to dive in here in a little bit, is the way that you can curate your space. But they also, as an organization, come together and they say, okay, well, we want the right people around. And so they get all the right coaches, they get the right people to motivate the team. They get the right sports trainers, they get the right physical therapists, specialized doctors, and all of these things in there for their different needs, for the different times, for the different people. And then they also, so the physical therapists, they have their room, they have like their tables, they have ice baths that these guys can take. I'm sure they have all these tools and devices that they can use to help alleviate all sorts of issues, all of the things that you can imagine that occur from physical ailments from being on a professional football field. So they build this stuff out, and they add the stuff in that is conducive to that environment, right? They're not bringing in, I think about Any Given Sunday, they're not like bringing in, strip tease girls and lots of drugs, and like, I don't know, like crap food and stuff. Like they're not bringing that kind of stuff in. The stuff that's going to be there or is going to be the things that help make them perform at the best level possible within the rules of the game, right? So like not steroids and such, but you would assume. But yeah, that's just like an example of taking a sports team. But you look at your own life and think about, the first thing here, if you want to set your environment, is that you have to know what you're setting it for, right? You can't set your environment for success without having a kind of purpose, a kind of mission statement, if you will. It's hard to accomplish things in your life without knowing what it is that you want to accomplish. If you're like, I just want to do well, I want to live better, I want to be more healthy. Of those last 3 statements that I made, that is the most specific, and it is awfully vague. So you got to really spend some time with yourself, and that's actually, this kind of ties into one aspect of it, of curating your environment for success that I'm needing to do because I acknowledge some things that I'm not great at. So when we think about the things that you can do, right? Like I said, you want to start by identifying what success looks like. And so if you didn't catch the videos, I actually have this Phoenix journal, which is over here, and I linked the item from Amazon into the video from not this week, but last week's video only content. And this is it. This is what, there you go. That's very simple, right? It's there. It's got the little bookmarkers and stuff. But I kind of take you through it. I open it up and I show you guys, but I think that's crucial again to go back there and to look at that, because it is it's one tool. It's one example of what you can use to help guide your focus, right? And so in there, and this is what I promote all of the time, is you want to look at what your life in the broad range future, 3 to 5 years, or even like think you can shoot all the way to the end of your life, right? I think that this goals setting planner book does their long term is like 3 to 5, and then they have it break it down to a year, and then to 12 weeks, and then a month, and then a week, and then a day, right? And so you have all of these things that kind of fit inside of each other, but they have you start at the widest, broadest sense, and they want you to be ridiculous. Like what is your most perfect life look like in 5 years from now? And they give you several pages to write this out. And I think that's crucial, because if you start with the end state, you start with a vision of what a perfect life looks like, and you allow yourself to dive into the details about this, then you can really start to kind of backwards plan this. You reverse engineer, like, okay, well, if I want to be the type of person who runs ultra marathons, you can reverse engineer that to the point where, like, okay, well, in order to be able to do that, I need to be able to run a marathon, right? In order to be able to run a marathon, I need to be able to run a half marathon. If I want to be able to run a half marathon, I have to be able to run like more than a mile. so you can reverse engineer this all the way back, and that's just one aspect. The cool thing about this particular notebook is it allows you to parallel plan 4 goals simultaneously over these 12-week periods. And of course, there's room to do more than that, I believe, but I know that they have it built so it's like 4 goals. I mean, you can just bust out your own notebook and add it in. But yeah, so you can choose a fitness goal. You can choose a professional goal. You could choose a personal goal. You could choose a hobby goal, and you can do all of these things simultaneously. And the book allows you to do that. And it allows you to do that in a way that's organized, right? And that you can follow up with and increase your chances of success. It's interesting. It's insane how significant just writing down your goals is to making a difference. But when you start getting better about it, like they really incorporate the SMART goal setting aspect of this inside of there, which again, we've talked about numerous times on this show. But you can talk about, being specific, making the goal measurable, making it action oriented, making it the R's, varies. Some people say realistic, and time based, right? That's the T. And so that's if you structure your goal statements in such a manner that it incorporates all of those different aspects, then that on top of having just written down your goal, if you're like, I want to run a marathon, like, cool, like, let's make it SMART, right? Like, and then you take all of those components and you make sure that you add them in. So you take that, I want to run a marathon, and you add in, so you're specific already, right? You want to run a marathon that has a very specific distance, right? But maybe you want to be more specific. Maybe you want to say, I want to run the whole thing. Like, I want to run it without having to stop. Or I want to complete a marathon, or I want to complete a marathon in under, I don't know. I don't even know what good marathon times are. Like under 6 hours. I don't know what that pace is, but it's action oriented. It's realistic. I think that comes into like, okay, well, are you? Did you just blow your knee out? Like, then that maybe not be the most realistic goal right now. But also the realism portion of that type of goal really ties into the time frame, and you want to set your time frame in such a manner that it's not so far. Like, you shouldn't be going through a kind of SMART goal setting platform or exercise if it's kind of like more than a year out. Like, you can use that for a sub goal that is a part of a larger goal. Like, if you have a goal that is a 5-year goal, and you break that down into smaller sub goals, then you can use the SMART aspect for those kind of smaller goals. But I don't think that it's most effective if you're doing something that is more long term and looks at spanning over a year. I think that's just too long. I think then you have to break that down. So you're looking at running the marathon, and you're making the goal SMART. Like, you can use a notebook like this in order to do that. But so, like I said, like, that is just an example of a goal that you can set, but you have to be able to get specific. You have to be able to set those goals. You use that mission, use the vision of what your life looks like, and then you reverse engineer from there. And so once you're at that stage, we'll just keep rolling with the running thing, because it's pretty straightforward. So in order to run the marathon, if the marathon is the big goal, I suggest that actually be a sub goal, something like that, because that is one event, right? You run a marathon, then what's next? I would rather make that a part. So if I'm making a part of a vision, I'm the type of person that runs marathons, then I live a healthy life. I focus on fitness. I want to be here for as long as I can. I want to live in a manner that I want to live as long as possible in a manner where I am cognitively aware and and still able to take care of myself and my family for as long as possible. And in so doing, one aspect of fulfilling this is I'm choosing to really focus on running. And I think running marathons continuously is a good way to do that. Okay, cool. So you use that marathon as one way to break that stuff down. So if you want to, bringing it back to the core focus of today's episode, if you want to look at what setting your environment for success looks like in the face of wanting to run marathons, right? You want to look at the different components that are required to be able to run a marathon. So you have to figure out where you're at now, right? Like, are you already running? Like, I'll use me as a baseline example just because it's easier. So right now, I really haven't gone for just a run for distance since 4 or 5 months ago. My wife and I, we've been playing Ultimate. We played Ultimate a bunch in Virginia, and then now we're playing it again here. And so there's a lot of sprinting back and forth, but I'll tell you, to be completely honest and vulnerable and all that stuff, when we're playing, almost every single week that I play, we play like every week on Friday. That's part of our thing. And almost every single week before the game, we'll play like multiple games. Before all of the games are over, I'm going to have to stop playing because my legs are starting to cramp, or I've hurt myself. Usually it's that. Usually I'm starting to develop cramps. And so, that actually works. That actually works well into this. I'll weave it in. I'll be running, and like I'll be able to run really hard for a play, and probably make a good catch or make a decent throw, but then when it's time to turn around and play defense, like we drop the frisbee and it goes around, then I don't get the legs to follow up, and that's not necessarily normal for me. And I think a big part of that is, one, my physical conditioning has been lacking. I haven't been consistently working out. I definitely have not been running. And so and as a good solid addition and solid health advice in the face of COVID, I picked up smoking during this time, probably, maybe like a month before we went to Germany and we did our Europe trip. And then we were there, smoking like Black and Milds. Super ghetto. And we were doing that, and that was like, it developed to eventually be like a couple a day that we would share. And then we went to Europe, and then everyone there smoked cigarettes like everywhere we went. So we were smoking cigarettes everywhere. And then we came back, and so the whole time we were there, we were doing that. And so the whole time we came back, we've been doing that. So it's probably been like 4 months of, maybe 5 months of smoking on a daily basis, right? And then you can feel it. Like, I could just feel like my lungs were heavy, and like my breathing wasn't as good, and I couldn't keep up and running like the way that I was performing in Ultimate when I first started playing, and then the way that I am now is different. And I think that that's a pretty significant part of it. And so when we think about, like I said, that is one aspect. So you think about the health aspects that it takes to run a marathon. And you look at, there's diet, there are things like smoking, there are things like stretching, there's the physical working out, there's the actual running, and so you have all these kind of 4 different components, these different areas that you can focus on. And so, but really I want to break these down into 2 really broad categories, right? When you're looking at adjusting your environment in a way that's more conducive to meeting a goal, for me, wanting to perform better in Ultimate, wanting to increase my health, and we'll stick with the marathon thing that we were talking about. Let's say I want to run a marathon. Actually, I do. It's not something I'm going to make a goal for right now because it's not that serious, but I would like to run a marathon. And I think living my life in the way that I want, where I'm becoming more healthy and I'm working out more regularly and I'm stretching and I'm hydrating better and I'm supplementing correctly and all of these things, I think that's going to make that transition to that a lot smoother, right? And so like that's the cool thing about putting the focus on any sort of particular health goal, is that shifting to a different one it's a little bit smoother, right? Because you have that dynamic, you have that versatility. Like fitness can kind of mold from one to another. Like, no, I'm not going to be able to shift from the type of workouts I'm doing into like powerlifting and be like, yep, super easy transition, but it'll be easier than if I'm sitting on the couch eating potato chips and chewing down fatty cakes. So that's for sure. But so the two categories though, two categories that I want to break this down into are things that you can remove from your environment and things that you can add to your environment. And then there's kind of the subcategory that fits in both. That is, amendments. How can you adjust your environment? So when you think about what's the easiest thing to do? Well, probably the easiest thing that you can do right now, after you have identified your clear goal, in our case, we're going to continue with the example of running a marathon. You've identified your clear goal, and you've created kind of the categories that are required to be addressed to be most successful in this goal. And this may require some research, right? Because your goal may not be a physical fitness thing. It might be a business thing. And so you might need, but if you have a goal that's pretty specific in your niche of business, I'm guessing you already have a frame of reference there. So the point is, you want to identify these kind of areas of focus, these categories or areas of focus that you can take action inside of in order to make positive and tangible moves towards that goal. So if I'm looking at the things that I can remove from my environment, and I think again about me specifically right now, is that we enjoy some desserts. So I can remove things like the food that isn't conducive to that lifestyle, right? So if I don't want to eat chips and I don't want to eat brownies and I don't want to eat cake, then I'm going to not bring those things into my house. And I'm going to take those things that are in the house, I'm going to move them away. I'm going to throw them out. I'm going to give them to somebody else. And it's not to say that you have to do this because you don't have self-control. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, the realism is that we all have bad days and we all have weak moments. And it is much easier to fall into a bad moment and let a bad moment turn into a bad hour, turn into a bad morning, or a bad evening turn into a bad day. And a bad day to stretch into, 2 bad days. And we don't want to enable the momentum of things getting in our way, right? Of anti-goals. Right? So that's what we'll call it. We don't want to enable anti-goals. We want to enable goals, and we want to facilitate, we want to smooth the roads getting back to those goals as best we can. And so if we're having a bad day, one of the things that's most crucial for all of this is sleep. And so I didn't lay that down as a category. It involves in health, but it's very much its own focus, because when you don't get the right amount of sleep and you're not taking the right actions to increase and stabilize focus and attention and energy, that can impact the quality of your decision making for the rest of the day, and even beyond that, you end up in such a way where this can be the cycle. You get a bad night's sleep. You end up working, right? And you're stressed, and you're short on time, and so you're gonna go eat fast food, and then at the end of the day, you're like, oh my god, I just need to relax, and so like I'm just gonna have a beer, or I'm gonna have a glass of wine, and after dinner, you're like, you know what? Like I'm gonna indulge. I'm just gonna give myself, I'm gonna have whatever your choice of fatty cake is. I like the nutty bars with the chocolate outsides and the wafer insides and the peanut butter in the middle. Ooh, this do me so good. but and so I like that. I like Oreos. Oh, I'll get down on some Oreos. So yeah, now I'm thinking about the fatty cakes. It's going the wrong direction, right? So you want to make sure that those things that you kind of know that you go to, like, yourself. If you actually admit it and you take the time to think about it, like, yourself, that that you're gonna do that. If you think like, oh my god, I'm so tired, like, oh, I know that I'm gonna run the risk of making poor choices, that I might drink the beer that I didn't want to drink, or I might drink the third beer that I didn't want to drink. I'm going to eat food that's bad. I'm most likely going to eat fast food today, because I'm not in the mood to cook. And so how do you address all of those situations, right? Well, and to finish it off, just to finish off the negative part of this scenario, if you follow through and then you end up eating the crap food late at night, and then you have some beers, and then you have some sugariness, you have the milkshake from McDonald's, and it's kind of late into the evening, that's going to mess up your digestive system going into the night. It's going to mess up your sleep going into the morning, and then this cycle is going to keep going. And so it is so important to stay in control of this cycle and to not let it get away from you, because when you do, it's got momentum, right? These anti-goals have momentum. We've got to stay ahead of them. So if you make plans and you take action to address these known, not even possibilities, but these known routes that you'll take in these bad days, then it's you create the opportunity for you to make the right choice, right? We make the bad choices a lot because one, a big one I think is convenience, right? We're just like, I just don't want to deal, like, cooking healthy food is not, it's a lot of extra work tonight, when I can just have something prepared for me and I can just pick it up and be done, right? That's one of the big things. So how do we combat that, right? What plan do we put in place to make sure that we don't do that? So like I said, we're in the remove category right now. And if you've removed these things, if you've removed the desserts, the Oreos, and the Nutty Buddies, and all that stuff, you've removed those from your house to the point where you're not tempted. You've removed the soda, For me, like I said, remove the cigarettes, remove the lighter, remove the ashtrays, remove those visual things that are cues of less healthy lifestyles. So now you have that there, and so like you have your home environment kind of set up in a way that like those negative nutritional or health components are not there in your face. So that's huge. It's very helpful. But when you go out, yeah, like I said, you go into work and you get stressed out, and maybe you got a bad night's of sleep, and so you're battling yourself and the pressure from others who are like, oh, let's go and grab a bite. And you're like, well, I do want to be a part of the group, and I do want to, and I don't really care about eating. I don't really, like, what am I going to do? I gotta eat lunch. Well, a big, the easy thing to say is that, oh, well, you can just make sure that you pack a lunch. Like, oh, well, then you have to do the work in the morning to make sure that you pack a lunch. Or you can pack in the lunch the night before. And, if you're like, I'm going to be up late, and say you gave, and you're like, oh, I ate the crap and I had the milkshake. You're like, well, if I'm driving home and I got my burger and I'm eating my burger in the car and I'm eating french fries and I got the milkshake there, maybe I say to myself, before you get that milkshake, you're gonna pack that lunch tomorrow, because you're not gonna let today slide into tomorrow. So what this does is this allows for mistakes. It's not saying like it's okay to do that. It's okay to go out and have the McDonald's and the fries and the shake. No, it's not, but it's acknowledging the reality that life does indeed happen, and sometimes you're going to make the wrong choice. But in the wrong choice, in the mistake, in the not best version of the future or of the present, what plans do you have in place to get yourself back on track? Like, well, make it so that you have to earn things. Like, well, if I want that shake, I've got to make my lunch for tomorrow. So before I take a sip, I'm going to get home and I'm going to pack my lunch because I really want that shake. But I'm going to do that. And so these are things that you can also add into that notebook. Like, when this goes sideways, when I find myself sleep deprived, these are the things I'm going to do. Like, instead of doing this, I will do this. Instead of doing Y, I'll do X, or before I do Y, I'll do X. So I'm going to allot myself a crap meal, but in response, I'm going to earn that by getting up early before work to go for a run and making sure that I have my lunch packed, and all of those things. And so even when we think about getting up to run, like, again, we go back to the kind of setting the environment. We want to remove the things that are standing in our way. And so here we want to think about what things are in the way of us running in the morning. Well, you think of, well, what's going to keep you up at night? Like, well, your phone and your TV. Those are probably the two most likely things that are going to keep you up and impact your willingness, your enthusiasm to follow through with, upholding your end of that personal deal that you made with yourself. Or like, you ate that crap meal, like, well, I'm definitely going to go for a run in the morning. But then when your phone's right next to you in the morning and the alarm goes off and you hit snooze 7 times and then it's time to go to work, that's not helpful. And so let's remove the phone, right? Let's remove it from the side of the bed if that's an issue that particular morning and move it to the other side of the room. And so that way you have to physically get out of bed. So then it's much harder to get up, physically go walk. For me, I'm always going to have to use the bathroom in the morning. So my alarm goes off. If I got to get out of bed to go get it, I'm going to end up going to the bathroom. And by the time I'm done with that, I'm not going back into bed to go to sleep. Again, this is about creating the opportunities, creating the environment in such a way that it's more conducive to you to be able to flow back onto the track. We don't just want to. That's why I talk about real resilience here, because this isn't about, if you just do this, you'll have the perfect life. Like, no, we're always going to struggle. Struggling is commensurate with being human. Like, you can't have one without the other. It's part of the deal. It's part of the package. It's actually part of the beauty. And so acknowledging the struggle, acknowledging your own ways that you struggle, and creating pathways for you to veer off of struggle street and back onto the main road towards your goal, towards your future. That's what I'm looking at. Like, obviously we want to create the best, brightest, smoothest road for us to get there, because when we get on that road and we get momentum, when we get speed, then it's good to stay on there. But every once in a while you're gonna have a blowout, right? You're gonna have that day. You're gonna have you're gonna have a bad night of sleep just because you just had a bad night of sleep. Who knows? And that can really set off the domino effect of all these other bad things that can easily, just in a day, give momentum to those anti-goals. So remove the TV, like physically remove it from your room. If this is a problem, if you're running into sleep problems and you're running into like, I don't get enough sleep and this is something I really need to fix, and I can't do it. I'm just that person. I'm just that person that doesn't sleep well. Well, like, take those steps, create the routine. But if we're staying currently on the removal side of things, remove those things that we all know are not a good idea. So get your phone, turn your phone. I know that if Android's got it now, guaranteed iPhone's got it, guaranteed every phone's got it. There's like a setting on the phone where you can basically have it go automatically into nighttime mode at any given time. So if you say, I want to engage in my nighttime routine at 10 o'clock, then you set it up for then, and it goes into like black and white mode. And it is crazy. It is absolutely crazy how effective that is. How like not engaging your phone is when it's black and white. Like I've used it in the past. It's not set right now because honestly, like I put my phone on silent. When I get into bed, I put my phone on silent, put it on the charger, on a wireless charger, and I set my sleep cycle alarm and then I roll. And so then and then we have a TV in our room, and I end up watching TV when I go to sleep. But I get to sleep pretty quick, and we basically communicate with each other like, "Hey, you tired? Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and go to bed." And so we do that. But if that was a problem, if it felt like I felt like it stood in the way of our sleeping, then I could say, okay, well let's turn it off. And if we wouldn't have the discipline to like, okay, let's just take it out of the room. And then that way, you can add in other positive things. And then we can start looking at the add-ins, right? Then we can start shifting from this one first big category of remove, and we can go into add. And so when you think about adding, like sticking in this particular mode of time, we look at, let's add, what do we want to do? Think about your goal. Think about what it is, the life that you want to live. And maybe this goes into a different part of your goal. Maybe like, you want to learn more about marathon runners. Maybe you want to learn more about the people that are doing like the motivation. Maybe you're reading a David Goggins book, and so you can use that as a time to add in his book, add in reading time in bed. And so you replace that, you swap it out, you remove something that's standing in the way, and you add something in that pushes you towards that goal. And you can do this with all sorts of stuff, right? So you can get here. We won't get crazy and say, but let's say you just add dumbbells to your living room, and so that way, whenever you go into the living room, you have you're like, oh, okay, well, I got to do that. Like it's just this reminder. It's constantly there. It's a visual reminder of like, this is what I want to do. And then think about like there are really fun, unique ways that you can do this too. So if you have a TV, say like you get home and you're like, oh, I just want to sit down and relax and watch TV. We have a box out there that says unplugged on it. And I don't know if it's got a lock or not. I don't think it does, but I bet you could get a box with a lock on it. And you put that lock there. And then you could do something silly like you get the key that goes to the lock and you like tape it to a dumbbell. And you're like, so any time that you go to get that remote, you have to go and take the key off of the dumbbell. So you have to go physically engage with the dumbbell. And then that way it's these paths these fun, and then you'll probably laugh. Like it would be hard for me. And you gotta know yourself. It'd be hard for me though to go to want to watch TV, to go and grab the remote and be like, oh, like the freaking key is on the dumbbell. I gotta go take it off. Like, okay, let me do this. Let me do some curls. Let me do some push-ups, whatever. But it's just an indicator, and then it's just kind of a fun way to engage with it, But you can do other simple things. Like you don't have to be silly or goofy or whatever. You can put posters up, like big posters of people that you admire, and be like, okay, well, like if for me, I hear Jocko Willink's voice, and it's like, holy shit! Like I better be disciplined. I better do what I'm supposed to do, And so if I had a poster of him, or I see a quote with like his name or his face on it, like, okay, shit, all right, let's do this. Like he's there, I got it. You can put up your own sticky notes, right? Like you can have, yes, that was sticky notes. Or you can just grab a sticky note, you can write something on it, and you can do a couple of different things with that. You can do reminders. So in the morning, if you want to remind yourself to do something, throw a sticky note up on your bathroom mirror, or you can put affirmation notes written on there, saying that like you got this, whatever actually pumps you up then you can write it out that way. You know, if it's something silly, if it's something related to a dude that lifts and you're lifting, you know, like I know my buddy always puts ain't nothing but a peanut, and I think it's a quote from like a real heavy lifter, and talking about like lightweight. so like if I did that, because that's funny, because I've had so many engagements and seen that, it makes me laugh. And so if I put that up like lightweight motherfucker, that would crack me up, and that would help me in the morning to like, if I anything you can do to kind of like give yourself a smile, give yourself a laugh in the morning first thing. That's especially if you have the alarm situation set up, right? So you have your phone on the other side of the room, it goes off, you go over, you turn it on, you go to the bathroom, you go in there, and I see lightweight motherfucker. I'm gonna laugh, or at least, you know, over time I'm gonna smile, and I'm probably gonna change it out, because like all things start to wear thin, and you wanna refresh it, you know. But you have the capability to just pull off the sticky note, put a new one up, and you can just find them online too. Find something that motivates you, and then you can print that out, you can write it down, put it up on there. Those are just simple, really easy ways, you know. And then you can start looking at all of that is almost free. I would assume that almost everyone's got a pair of dumbbells. If it's not, then okay, you gotta buy some. But you don't even need dumbbells. You can just do push-ups. Maybe you put the key inside of your running shoes, and so it's just an indicator, like the key to the box that would hold the remote. That scenario. But then, so all of that's essentially free. You know, like you're doing that with the things that you already have. You're removing. So all of this up until now is stuff that you could do with like no add-ons, no significant financial investment from you is required. But I do think that there is a component of the financial investment that's like a skin in the game part, that they can actually play a significant role. And so if you know, I think that it's important to throw some money at your goals in a way that lets you know, like, shit, like this is serious. Like I'm taking money that I could be spending on fun or on these other things, and I'm choosing to put it here. It's one of the things that I've really liked to see. You know, people like to say, you know, you show me your actions and I'll show you your priorities, kind of a thing. Like basically, talk is, you know, big talk is fine, but like, what are you actually doing? And I like to add on the caveat to that, like, show me your bank statements and I'll show you your priorities. Right? That's where it really sticks, because essentially that's your actions. It's your actions highlighted in a way that's also deemed through, filtered through like a value category. So you have like the value of money and how much you value money placed on top of like gearing or enabling actions and stuff to come to you. so you really get to feel. So I mean, if you want to know your priorities, take a look at your last month's, you know, monthly statement from your bank account, and maybe it'll be enlightening. Maybe you're like, yep, that's exactly right. You know, but with all that, you can. So if you want to start adding in some investment aspects of this, you know, it's all specific towards that goal. Maybe you want to buy this really nice pair of running shoes, and maybe they're not even like the best pair of running shoes. This is the thing that always gets me, is that like, I don't care if it's the best thing out there. I care if it's the thing that's going to help me. And that's with me acknowledging that to help me isn't to be the best. It's to, what is the thing, what is the catalyst, what is that you know, that thing that's going to like light my brain up and excite me. And so maybe it's like, I have these minimus shoes that I love, and they absolutely push and drive me to go out and run more. And because I love wearing them, I love putting them on, they feel great, they're light, and that's probably not the best type of shoe for my back, for all the back problems that I have. But I love them, and they keep me active. and it motivates me, keeps me moving and going out there. So I don't care. Like, if it's keeping me active and it's keeping me like motivated, even in this way that makes no sense, other than like, I look at them like, I love these shoes, you know, then roll with it. And so like, keep that in mind with all of this stuff. Like, whatever is that thing that really gets you going, that really just, gets the gears spinning and gets you moving, then like go with that. It doesn't have to be the thing that everyone else has, or it can be. It can be that thing. If that's, they're like, yeah, I've seen all these people use this thing, and I really want it because I feel like there's something about it that's gonna fire me up. And you get it, you're like, yep, cool, let's do this. It's that type of water bottle, whatever. You look at notebooks. If you place a notebook in a place that you can use to help focus your goals. Like I said, I spent a lot of time talking about the Phoenix Journal, but it doesn't have to be. They can just be a notebook. You can just write your goals down. You create your own structure. It's fine. It doesn't matter. You don't have to use anybody else's pre-prescribed notions of the structure to success. You write it down. You write it out. Write your thoughts. And but like I think there's an important aspect to kind of to disconnecting, right? So if I was thinking about I have a typewriter. It's out there, and we have a ribbon for it. I have never put it in, but man, I want to. I really, really, really want to, because I'd love to be able to create a space. I'd love to be able to create a time where it's like Wi-Fi lockdown, like no internet. And I think that there are devices. I think that there's ways to set that up. I'm sure I want to look into it, but I think that there's a way to like kind of control the Wi-Fi to be like, okay, from this time to this time, you're not going to be on. I think that different internet service providers, different ISPs have the different kind of functionalities and tools like that. And I'm sure I could probably do it through the app. But I'm out here in the boonies in Indiana, so I'm not running with like any well-known named company at this point, but I'm sure that there's ways. But especially if you just create a space, you create a space that there are no plugs in this room, or there are no like chargers. You don't bring them in. You don't bring electronics in. You have something at the door, like a sign. It's like all wires end here, whatever, or do not enter. And you just you designate this space as a goal focused room, right? Then you're adding these things, or goal focused chair. Even like we're like this, nothing comes over here. No phones, no tablets. I can do my research for this stuff another time. This is the place where I just focus on the goal itself. So I have my notebook, I got my pen, I got whatever. I got a computer that has the inability to attach to the internet, or you name it. But I think that there is power there, because there's such a tendency, and this might just be a me thing. There's a tendency for me when I'm working, when I'm doing research for the show, and I'm doing research on learning about the different psychological impacts of resilience and the different ways to promote the skills, that you can get on these rabbit trails. And the internet is really, really good at providing these rabbit trails, and so you have to be cognizant of that. And so I think it's important to unplug and to have that aspect of it. So that kind of goes into the add things that are wire free, remove things that are wired. And that's not permanently. It's just for you just call it 15-20 minutes a day. Maybe you just go sit outside. That's probably the easiest way to do it. but yeah, no, that's kind of the main crux of it, guys. That I really wanted to hit on what these two main areas, right? Of setting up your physical environment. Like I said, on Tuesday, we talked briefly about kind of setting up your mental environment for success. Now I wanted to talk about kind of setting up your physical environment. So you remove these negative things, these anti-goals, right? These fatty cakes, the TVs, the cigarettes. You remove those from your environment, right? And then you add in the things that are beneficial. You add the weights, you add posters, you add affirmation, post-it notes, you add the notebooks, you control Wi-Fi, you lock down some of the stuff. You have fun with it. I think that's the most important thing, is that you find a way to have fun with it. And that's crucial in the very beginning stage. To bring it back to the very beginning, we talked about the importance around setting the actual goal itself and being clear with what that is. It's not that it's not easy. It's much easier to do all of this with a goal that you are really passionate about. So if you're like, oh, the doctor told me that I need to go walk every day for 20 minutes, so my goal is to walk every day. No, that should be part of the sub goal that gets you pumped up. What is it that you want to do? Do you want what drives you? What are you passionate about? Do you want to be able to go run, not run even, but you want to be able to go out there and play games with your grandkids or with your kids when they're, as they grow up, depending on your age. If doctor's telling you got to walk 10 minutes a day, then I'm in my head, I'm creating an old person persona. And so if you want to play with your grandkids, right? You want to go out in the yard, you want to throw the ball around with them, you want to play horseshoes, whatever. Like, do you want to go out and take them places? Well, they're active. They want to move around. They're not just going to sit there all day. Yeah, you could take them fishing, but after fishing, you better do something with them. But like, so that would be the goal. Like, I want to live a more fulfilling life. I want to be more engaged with my grandkids. And so, then walking 10 minutes a day is one of the ways that, like, when you reverse engineer that back, like, well, how do I do that? Like, well, the doctor said if I walk 10 minutes a day, it's really going to help, with my blood pressure and all this stuff, and I could stick around longer and be more healthy. Cool. Okay. And then you can look at the food, then you can look at the what may be unhealthy habits, like the indulgence aspect, like smoking and drinking and things like that. And you can look at all of these. You can look at your sleep. You can look at what you're doing to challenge yourself, to push yourself mentally, and all of these things combined, these can really make big changes towards that goal of, like, I want to be there in a meaningful way and have a relationship with my grandson or my granddaughter. So yeah, that's really that's what I wanted to talk about. It's what we did talk about. So I appreciate you guys. This is the first moderate full production video that I've done since, before Germany, because Germany was just the camera from the computer. And so now this is closer to the full deal. I got the mic set up, I got the cameras, and the lighting, you can tell if you're watching, isn't necessarily right yet, but we're close. And we're actually going to be, I'm going to change a couple of things in the studio. We're still a work in progress, but it's actually, by the time that we're done, very, very soon, we're going to have some significant upgrades. And I think you guys will really like it. So if you liked today's episode and you did find value in it, then awesome. Then, like, this was worth your time, and that's like good enough as it is. I do just have that one request, as I had at the beginning of the show. Please, I really do want to push our numbers up, and so you are the only way that I can do that. And so if you have already subscribed, you rock. I don't want to forget you. I don't want to feel like you're unacknowledged. Like, I already subscribed. He always talks about this subscribing crap. But I do ask that if you find people, if you know of people where this kind of makes sense, just send this link personally in one text to one person. And just be like, hey, this guy was talking about goal setting, he was talking about, these things, and I think that you would find it helpful. Or you can just send it to him and just say, I want to know what you think about this. Like, I was watching this, I want to know what you think. Like, I respect your thoughts, and some of what he said maybe resonated a little bit, but I want to know what your thoughts are. I think that's a really engaging way to bring some friends and stuff in. I know that sharing content can be really weird and can make people feel funny. Some people are really, really engaged and really all about it, and some people aren't, And so those are just some easy ways to kind of send it out there and to share if you feel like it's worthy of sharing. If you're here now at this point, I'm assuming that that's the case because it's been about an hour. So thank you so much for coming. I really do appreciate your time. I appreciate all of the newcomers. We've had such a big new surge of people that have come to the show over the last month, and I cannot tell you how grateful I am. So thank you so much for coming here. I truly value your time, and I hope that you can feel that in the information that we talked about today. And if, like I said, if you like it, please like, share, subscribe, and I will be here again. Our next meeting time will be the beginning of the week. So I will be with you on Monday. My goal is to get it out first thing Monday morning so we can be together and we can kick off the week right. So with that being the case, I'm not going to see you guys again most likely for the rest of the weekend. Have a great weekend. Have a great end of the week. Be productive, be fruitful. Think about these things. Think about what you can start removing. Like I said, the first 3/4 of everything that we talked about was stuff that you can do right now without lifting a financial finger, right? Stuff that you can just start removing. Stuff you can just get out of the way And then the few things that you can add in that don't require anything. I mean, maybe you have to buy a sticky notepad. Like, maybe buy some dry erase markers so you can write on the mirror, you know? But that's it. That's it. You start there and you're in great shape. And then it's going to build this momentum. You're going to get excited. And when you get excited, you're going to be like, oh, I'm going to get some of this stuff that he was talking about. I want to get, I'm going to get this box and I'm going to put the remote in it. I'm going to mess with my spouse. I'm going to mess with my kids. Like, hey, you kids, you guys want to watch some TV? We're all going to do push-ups. You ready to do some push-ups? They're going to look at you like you're crazy. But if you drop down and you start doing them, I mean, they might drop down with you. They might walk away and think you're crazy. But that's fine too, because this is about you and your goal and what you want to accomplish. So get out there. Go accomplish, get in your home, set that environment, and let me know how it works. Let me know if you try any of these. Let me know if you have a different way that you can adjust your environment that's conducive to your goal, to your particular goal, because I'm very curious. I'd love input, I love feedback, and I want to know what you guys are actually doing out there. So be safe, be good, and I will talk to you guys all again here on Monday morning.